What's going on, guys? Fearmaky here, bringing you another video. Let's get into it. Let's roll deep and keep grinding out there, guys. Let's dive into the video. Let's go. Ladies and gents, we are always finding a new way to be creative, a new way to play the game. I am so happy, honestly, coming into the bunny realm. I'm like, there's nothing I'm going to find unique or creative compared to the other billions of videos out there. And what I looked up from the top content creators that does bunny, I have not seen anybody use Electric Condense. And as you've seen there, the massive explosion for 2.2 million damage. Who would have thought that bunny could do that type of damage? I never thought that, man. Anyways, bunny is an extremely mobile, agile character, one of the fastest in the game, amazing for farming, mobbing, etc. I prefer to play the other classes. It's more engaged and more involved, but all of these builds that I'm doing here is focusing on Electric Condense. I do have the high voltage build as well that I'll show you guys later in the guide. But if you want a more involved build, actions per minute build with bunny instead of just running around with her 3 skill, which is her lightning emission, then you can certainly use Electric Condense. It packs a punch. All right, ladies and gents, let's get back into another guide here. This time we're doing bunny. So anyways, with bunny, we'll go over the weapons first because the weapons do matter. I do not have a fully catalyst thunder cage, but my thunder cage is level 4 because I mainly use Enduring Legacy for my other descendants. But for bunny, 100% you want to use thunder cage. The reason for that is while you're holding a submachine gun, your movement speed while firing, movement speed while aiming, and sprint speed is all increased to 600 and 800. The moment you swap to, let's say, a machine gun, you can see my movement speed went down to 450, 270, 180, 750, significantly slower. Even with a hand cannon, you can see the movement speed is also affected. And since bunny is all about speed and movement speed increase to gain your custom resource, which is your electricity, then you always want to be moving, you always want to be flying. And the builds that I have is one of the fastest bunny builds out there. Might not suit your play style, how you like to play her, but I will show you all the 3 variants that I use, and you guys decide for yourselves which one you want to use. And I'll let you know which one I prefer the most for which activity. So anyway, let's get back to the weapons. So 100% you want to use Thunder Cage. I'll show you my modules, but do not copy these modules. There's a lot of guides out there with fully decked out modules and catalysts for Thunder Cage, so I highly recommend you search on YouTube for that. This is what I'm using, but I rarely fire my gun or ever fire my gun with bunny. I mainly use bunny for mobbing. There's a lot of good options for bossing descendants out there, like Lepic, Viessa, Enzo. So if you have those descendants unlocked, I would highly recommend taking them to do the bosses, intercept battles, as opposed to bunny. But if you want to take bunny, I'll show you a build there as well. So for the weapon, definitely use Thunder Cage. For the Reactor, let me make sure we swap back to it so you can see the mounting condition proc. For the Reactor, I'm using Tingling Singularity Reactor with the Thunder Cage mounting condition. It has electric and singular skill power boost ratios, skill cost reduction, and electric power boost ratio. You 100% want skill cost reduction on your Reactor. That's no question asked when it comes to bunny. For your secondary, you can go crit rate, crit damage. I personally prefer skill damage, so electric skill power, or you can favor her singular element as well. That would also increase your damage. So either electric skill power or singular skill power boost would work out fine. But there's no questions about skill cost. You definitely want that, or else you're going to feel gimped. With the external components, I am using 2-piece Supernova and 2-piece Annihilation. On your auxiliary power Supernova, 100% you want max HP and MP recovery out of combat. Bunny is very fragile, so you definitely want health on her, and you want MP recovery out of combat. if you ever happen to be out of combat with Bunny, because anything she hits a gas barrel and shells explode, it puts you in combat, and you're really gonna get your mana back. But yeah, you can toggle off. I mean, you can get out of combat with her, and when you're out of combat, you'll definitely regen mana. For the sensor, you want max MP, because she consumes her mana to give her electricity, to give her, you know, faster run speed, therefore to gain her custom resource faster. I do have consumable drop rate increase modifier. I highly recommend this on your sensor, so that way you have an excess amount of mana globes dropping on the ground and health globes, just to keep you running and going constantly without running out of resources. This is great for every single content, dungeon, waves, bosses, etc. So you definitely want that. This to me is the perfect setup with consumable drop rate and max MP. For the memory on the first Annihilation set piece, I have MP recovery modifier to help with the extra mana gain. I rolled firearm proficiency gain here. I would rather have MP recovery in combat, but this is what it rolled for me. For the processor, we have the max HP base, max shield, or shield recovery modifier, which increases her survivability. This is pretty nice. And we have the nice skill duration set bonus, which definitely complements her 3. Let's go over the abilities for Bunny. I've gotten some feedback on my other videos, and I apologize for some of the viewers, which is bad on my part to make an assumption that everybody is playing this character or everybody knows how this character functions, and that's not the case. I get a lot of viewers, new viewers in the channel, new viewers to the class, so I'm going to approach it as if, you know, you're a new player playing Bunny and you don't know what she's about. So Bunny is all about speed. Her number 1 skill is Throw Bomb. Creates a throw bomb that targets the nearest enemy within range, dealing damage. This damage increases proportionally to the amount of electricity that you have, and that inflicts electrocution on enemies hit. I'll show you that on the dummy as we after we're done going over the abilities. You rarely use this skill, but with my wave build, you can certainly use this if you want a more active play style on Bunny. So you can certainly use this. This has a base cooldown of 10 seconds. We're down to 6.8. It costs 100 electricity to cast. We're down to 45.9. And it has a base of 156 skill power damage. We're down to 116 because of some of our mods. And it gives you 10% electricity. Per 10% of electricity retained, you get 15% skill power. So you have a base of 1,000 electricity. So once you're capped out on 100% electricity, which you always will be, you'll get an additional 150% skill power increase. It has a base damage range of 7 meters, but we're up to 20.1 meters. The max expandable range is 300%, which would be 21 meters. So we're only 0.9 meters from its maximum range here. And it hits 6 monsters, but with our mod that I'll show you here in a little bit, it's only going to be capped out at 3 monsters, but the damage will increase significantly. And electrocution is the debuff that it applies. It deals continuous damage at a 55.9% skill power, and the damage interval is every 1 second. The last 3 seconds we're up to 3.2 seconds. That is the throw bomb. Your speed of light, which is a toggle ability, by the way, always moves by sprinting and increases sprint speed. You gain speed of light buff. Speed of light additionally gains electricity while moving. So this has a 2-second cooldown. We're down to 1.4. Again, the cooldown really does not matter on this ability because we're going to toggle it on and always keep it on 100% while you're running. Unless you're, you know, at a boss or in between certain phases in the boss, you want to regain your mana back, then you toggle it off so you can burst the boss down. Anyways, MP cost is 12. We're down to 5.5. Continuous MP cost per interval is every cycle. Continuous MP cost is 25 base. We're down to 11.5 every second. In skill effect, it increases your movement speed by 50%. And you gain electricity acquisition cycle. Every 1 meter you move, you gain electricity. You acquire 0.6% electricity. every meter that you move. So the faster you're moving, the more ground you're covering, the faster electricity you gain, the more damage you'll be able to dish out. Your third skill is lightning emission. Activates the lightning emission state, deals damage to nearby enemies when moving a certain distance, increases damage proportional to the amount of electricity that you have, and inflicts electrocution debuff on enemies hit. This creates a massive circle around you, and you can expand the circle to cover more ground, hit more enemies, apply more debuffs, and just, this is why Bunny is one of the best mobbing characters in the game. For her speed and her ability to cover an immense amount of area quickly and just deal dot damage and deal instant damage and kill everything. Cooldown of 30 seconds, we're down to 20.5. Electricity cost 266, we're down to 122. Lightning emission, move distance emits every 7 meters moved, you deal the lightning emission dot tick. So faster you're moving, faster you're covering ground, the faster you tick, more damage you'll deal. Damage, skill power of 148%, we're down to 108.7. Not a big deal though. Bunny is sort of overpowered when it comes to damage, so taking a slight damage decrease is not going to matter. But with our build, we're going to offset that as well. Range, base 7 meters, we're up to 20.1 meter. The maximum you can go to is 21 meters anyway, so we're only 0.9 meters from cap. Maximum duration is 20 seconds. We have a 21.1 second duration right now with our mods. Again, it deals electrocution damage dot debuff. Lasts for 3 seconds, we're up to 3.2. Your ultimate, I have not found the use for this yet. I built it, tried it, not really that good with Bunny. You always want to be on the go with her. I hope the devs rework this ultimate for single target damage. Maybe allow you to cast it while moving, you know, at increased speed, so you can, you know, have your electricity still, you know, it can diminish a little bit, but allow you to move at lightning speeds while aiming. It'll make it feel better. Right now, you're just locked in there and casting, and you consume all of your electricity to dish out the damage. Not really a good play style for her. But anyways, maximum power is your fourth skill, which discharges electricity forward, deals damage on enemies hit that come into contact with the electricity, with the damage increasing gradually based on the discharge time. Ends when you run out of electricity. Cooldowns 30 seconds, we're down to 20.5. Cost interval every cycle. Electricity cost is max 240, we're down to 110.2 in 1 second. Skill effect at level 2, damage increase maintained for 1.1 seconds. Level 3, again for 1.1 seconds. Level 1 damage, skill power amplified by 502%. At level 2 damage, you have a 20% increased amplification. At level 3, you have 40% increased amplification. So the longer you channel this beam, the more damage it deals. Your passive on Bunny is Rabbit Foot. Deals damage to nearby enemies upon landing after a double jump. It gains electricity proportional to the travel distance. If there is no movement for a certain period, electricity is gradually consumed. So when you double jump and land near a target, you pulse lightning damage, and you also gain energy as well, lightning as well. Yeah, so acquisition cycle per 1 meter traveled, acquire 0.2% electricity. Cost interval every cycle. Cost amount max electricity 1 second time by 15%. On double jump, damage skill power 128%. And damage range is 4 meters. We have it up to 11.5 meters. Max expandable range is 300%, which would have been 12. But we're up to 11.5, so 0.5 meters off from the cap. All right, let's get into the modules. The module that we use, and this would be the build that I run for dungeons. I swap them out here and there, but we use high voltage. The moment we put on high voltage, you're going to see our abilities are going to change. So our number 1 skill now reduces from 6 targets down to 3, but the damage on the skill power increases. The same thing with our lightning emission. Well, let's read the high voltage skill first. Reduces the number of enemies that throw bomb and lightning emission can strike. but increases range and damage instead. So we go from 6 targets down to 3, and we no longer have a massive AoE circle around us. So now you have like a lightning beam, 3 beams that pulse out of you and hits the targets and kills them, you know, right away. It deals an immense amount of damage, and since the density is not that much in dungeons, this, you know, excels extremely well in the dungeon while you're running through, and especially for boss and in the dungeons. My wave build also does really well in there and chunks the boss as well, but the choice is up to yours which one you want to deal. This build is solely based on just running and dealing dot damage, tick damage, and getting from point A to point B as fast as possible. So that is the changes that the high voltage bring to your abilities. You no longer have a massive AoE circle around you with your 3 skill, and your bomb only hits 3 targets, but the damage is significantly increased and the range is also increased. Okay, you can see that our base range went from, which was what, 7 meters, and it goes up to 9. Same thing here. So you can see our base goes up to 9 and 9. So now we can go up to 27 meters, and we're at 25.8. So the radius that you can cover and deal damage to significantly increases with this mod. So the damage and the range, you know, definitely increases, and that's what it is. So that's what we're doing for dungeon. For our very first rare mod, we're using a maximize conservation. Skill cost reduced by 35.4%. Skill power modifier reduced by 20%. We're going to make up the skill modifier loss with the decimator mod when we get to it, so don't worry about that. But skill cost duration is significantly important for Bunny, because you don't want to run out of mana, because you'll lose speed, you'll lose electricity, and you're gimped. We're going for nimble fingers for skill cooldown reduction, because you want to be able to cast your basic info as well and have 100% uptime on it. This brings it down to 15 seconds. For MP, for the Xantic slot, we're using MP Collector. When defeating an enemy, instantly recovers 12% of MP at a 17% chance. This will give you a healthy amount of mana as you're running through dungeons and while you're doing waves. For the C slot, we're doing increased HP. You do not need Battle of Stamina for Bunny. The increased health definitely helps her survive a lot more, so I'd highly recommend you going with this. The Decimator mod. When defeating enemies inflicted with debuffs, skill power modifier increased by 5% per defeated enemy for 10 seconds up to 10 stacks. So this is a 50% skill power modifier, which offsets our maximized conservation and our skill power reduction on maximized range. So we'll be at a positive 10% while we're mobbing and killing targets. So you're not really losing the 40%. But back to the Decimator. Each time you kill a target that's debuffed, and they will have the electricity debuff, unless the target's a really low level and weak, they'll get one shot and you won't get the stack. But at that time, right, who cares, because you're one shot in mobs anyway, so more damage or less damage means nothing. Everything is dying regardless. But if the targets do happen to live and not live more than a one shot, then once they do die, you'll get the increased skill power modifier from the Decimator mod. We use Strong Mentality. This is a must mod for this class, which also further reduces your skill cost by 15.2%, allowing you to keep running longer and gaining more electricity. You definitely want skill expansion. I do leave this slot blanked out, so you can do increased mana mana pool if you want, as opposed to the range, so you can keep running even further. I'll show you here which mod I mean by that. You can use Enlightenment in that slot as well over the skill expansion if you want to say, listen, I'm good with the range, I'm running over mobs anyways, I just want more mana and to run infinitely. So you can put in Enlightenment over skill expansion. For the third Xantic slot, we're using Electric Specialist. This increases your electric skill power by 81.2%. All right, you definitely want that because all your skills are electric and singular infusion. For the Rutile slot, we're using maximize range. Skill effective range increased by 94.4%, but we take the negative skill power reduction by 20%. Again, not a big deal because we have Decimator mod, and once you're at 10 stacks, you're positive 10% skill power modifier. And for the final Rutile slot, we are using focus on singular. Again, for singular skill power modifier to amplify the damage on your lightning emission. And also it's a nice skill cooldown reduction to make sure you can always keep it up 100% of the time. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. If you wanted more MP and defense, you could swap out Nimble Fingers for Agony, and you guys would still be fine as well, and that would give you, you know, even more range to keep running and dealing with that. But I'll leave that, you know, up to you guys and what you want to do. You can swap out Nimble Fingers for Enlightenment or for Agony. The choice is yours. All right, if you want to be more tanky. So this is the build that I use for bossing. This is the build that I use for dungeons, and I'll swap it in and out on waves depending on what's happening. But the way I play Bunny, the way I like to play Bunny, and all of my waves, and you see the showcase, and you'll see these massive damage hits by like 1.1 million, 2.2 million, is my wave build. I have not seen anybody online use this, or at least the top players who play Bunny, and I want it to be slightly unique. I do like this play style, and I'll explain to you why. So with my wave build, I use Electric Condense as the Descendant module. What this does is changes your maximum power into a form that causes damage around Bunny. What that does is change your force skill and gives you Electric Condense. Activate the Electric Condense. While Electric Condense is active, it allows for the acquisition of more electricity, deals damage to enemies within range. When it ends, this damage increases proportionally to the amount of electricity owned. Pressing the skill button again before the duration ends the skill immediately. The range increases based on the activated time. So what this skill does, it has a 38-second cooldown. We're down to 9.8 seconds. Electricity cost 400. We're down to 244.4. Skill effect. This is the highest skill power skill in the game for Bunny, at least that I've discovered. So the damage skill power is 1946. I believe with everything we have combined, and I didn't even add the decimator there, we're up to actually 2096. But the decimator is a modifier to the dot damage anyways. But actually I will add to that, but we're probably like a 2200 skill power in total by the time it's all said and done, or 2300. But damage range of base 5 meters, we're up to 13 meters. The max expandable range is 15 meters anyways, which is 300%. So we're only 2 meters off. But max increase range is 150% increase range to your existing range. So your 13 meters times 150% actually becomes more than the base there. That actually becomes 13 times 150%. It's 19.5 meters that you can expand this to when that explodes. Okay. The max charge time is 5 seconds, which means when you pop your force skills, this buff will last 5 seconds and charge up, and the range increases based on the activated time. So the longer you hold this, the bigger the explosion radius that it'll be. So you let it explode on your own. You can explode it if you're next to the target on your own. It'll still deal the same amount of damage, just the radius won't be as big, right? But if you let it explode on its own, then the radius will be massive. And it'll just delete everything around you if they're not dead already by your dots and your ticking dots. The beauty about this skill, and why I say it's the fastest bunny build out there, is because with your speed of light of 50% sprint speed increase, with the Electric Condense mod, you get an additional sprint speed increase of 20%, bringing you up to 70% sprint speed. In total, without this, you would have 1,200% movement speed. With this Descendant mod, you go up to 1,360%, and you're just a bullet on the map. There is a caveat to using it though. If you're running on the ground and use it, it sort of stops you in your motion and then, you know, pops it and goes. But if you use it while you're jumping or while you're falling from your hook, etc., which is when I basically use it, if you can see in my videos, then it won't slow you down as much and you just keep going. And the amount of speed and electricity and damage that you're dealing is just insane. So, but this build here is the fastest bunny build out there online. All right. In addition to that, electricity acquisition gain again per 1 meter, and you acquire 0.2%. All right. And that is the mod that I use for waves. I use this build for pretty much dungeons, for everything out there, because I like to be active, and I'll show you what I mean by that. The mods, again, we're going with the maximize conservation for the skill cost reduction. Nimble fingers for the skill cooldown. It's very important in order for you to keep using your Electric Condense Transcendent mod. MP collector to keep your mana healthy. Increased HP for survivability. Decimator, again, to stack your buffs, your skill modifier buff, especially while doing waves. MP conversion for the skill cooldown reduction. You do take a hit on MP, but you're going to be doing waves, and with your module with the consumable drop ratios, you're never going to run out of mana. You'll be fine. Skill expansion, this can only be upgraded up to rank what was that, 7, I believe. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, yeah, 7 times, so that way you don't cap out. And range, you're ready. This is going to explode for such a massive range. And you're going to be dealing so much damage anyways. Taking a slight hit on range is not that big of a deal. Focus on electric for electric skill power, but also mainly for the skill cooldown reduction, because you want to keep being you want an active build, and you want to be able to pop your ultimate in your one. So you definitely want this. Maximize range for the increased range. And you do take a skill power modifier hit, but with the decimator at 50%, it offsets that. And then focus on singular for the skill power modifier on singular damage, and also mainly skill cooldown reduction. Okay, so that is the build for waves. I'll show you the difference when we're at the dummy. Now for bossing, I do not recommend using bunny for bossing, but if you are adamant about doing bossing build on bunny and that's the only character you happen to have, this is what I'm using for bossing if I ever take her to bossing. But I mainly use my gun. I'll pop my abilities, get full energy, and then I just keep jumping while holding left click on Enduring Legacy, so that way I can still benefit from, you know, somewhat of the ticking damage. But ideally you would want a reactor that has Enduring Legacy on it, so that way your dots from your lightning emission is dealing more damage, right? Because right now with my Thunder Cage, when I swap to Enduring Legacy, I lose that damage, that skill power damage. Again, I do not recommend taking bunny into intercept battles, but if you want to take her, you can use this build. So maximize conservation, nimble fingers, skill simplification, increased HP for survivability, dangerous ambush, so when the enemy is down, he'll always be seeing you even though he's not targeting you, so that won't work in bossing. But when he does happen to go down once or twice, your skills will do 50% more damage to him. Strong mentality for cost reduction, so you can run around. Front lines for the skill critical hit damage and skill critical hit rate. And actually I'm going to want to update that, because I meant to use emergency measures for the crit rate and crit damage, and not front lines there. So go with emergency measures. And we're using electric specialist for the increased electric damage, spear and shield for the additional defense and skill power, and MP accelerant for skill duration and a little bit more mana. All right, you can drop nimble fingers or strong mentality if you want, I mean enlightenment or agony. So you do have those options there. And you can even run both. You can run enlightenment or over nimble fingers. You can run agony over emergency measures. There's plenty of options here with this build, which is why I left the slot blank, but the choice is up to you guys. For the mobility module, we are using mid-air maneuvering, but any module you want to use for mobility, you can. Make sure you upgrade it though to max, so you get the extra module capacity. All right, so let's go over the main build that I use, the wave build. So with this build, as I'm running, and I'm dealing dot damage, and then you pop your 4th skill, Lightning Condense, you're gonna see when it explodes the damage it hits for. Well, I guess with all those numbers you couldn't see, but it's up again. Just let me stop running just so you can see when it expires. There it is, 736,000. Okay, I'll pop it again. Let me make sure I have full energy here so you can see. There it is, 746,000 again. All right, it can crit and dish out a lot more damage than that, especially on maps. As you've seen, I hit for like 2.2 million. Especially with Decimator on and proc and all that, you're gonna hit for a lot more damage than that. And when it does crit, you know, on the regular, even without Decimator, it'll be hitting for like 1.6 million. But anyways, yeah, that's the play style there, as you're running around. And then you can also throw your grenade, and because our cooldown is so low, so this is the play style that, you know, that I like to play in waves. I rarely cast my 1 though, because we are dealing so much damage already, and I don't want any more downtime on Bunny. So I just cast my 4 and then just keep running around. Like I said before in my other videos, she's an amazing farmer, an amazing class. Not really my playstyle because it's a little bit too passive, but I do enjoy this playstyle where, as you know, when I jump and as I'm in midair, I'll cast my Electric Condense 4th skill. Yeah, 957,000 there, crit there on that target. But I'll cast my Electric Condense when I'm falling down, so that way it doesn't stop me mid-run. There, crit again there. So I'll show you, as we're running like this, I'll jump, I can even hook, and then as I'm falling, I'll pop it, and then I stay running. That's how you want to do it. You don't want to do it while running. I'm gonna run out of mana here. You don't want to do it while doing this, because you can see you're gonna stop, and it doesn't feel as good, right? But as I'm running through the waves and the maps, if you double jump and then as you're landing, when you're mid-air and cast it, it feels good. Or you can also hook, and then as you're falling, you cast it, it doesn't slow you as much. And that's what I do there with that. Okay, I'll show you the difference with high voltage and what that does. Let me get out of combat quick. Oh, that's the one thing with Bunny. If you have your 2 active, you're always considered in combat. You can't disenchant items, delete them, or even change builds. So make sure you disable that. So with the Fearmaky build with the high voltage for dungeons, you can see your circle gets modified to only 3 beams. And since we only have 1 target, it's only attacking 1. But I'll pull out the other targets. That way you can see the build in action. I'm not going to make the assumption that everybody knows how Bunny works. So I'll definitely showcase what I'm talking about so people aren't confused after the video. You can see here the 3 beams. That's all you're going to hit. If there's 5 or 6 or more targets, I'll put up the 4th target. It's only going to hit the 3. But it deals so much damage that the 3 targets are going to get deleted right away. And then the lightning will hit the other targets immediately. So you can see, and it'll hit, looks like it hits the 3 closest targets to Bunny. See? And that's what high voltage does, but it deals a lot of damage. And then that's all you do. And then you just press your 3 skill, keep lightning emission up, and that's it. You just keep running around the targets. And with your skill cost reduction, your mana, you know, lasts for a very long time, and your electric bar is maxed out. But that is the Bunny build, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed the new build, the wave build that I'm doing with Bunny. And I highly recommend that for waves, if for any content. If you want to see big numbers, a big electric pulse, you want to be more engaged with her, then definitely do the Electric Condense build, which is the wave build. The next character we'll be putting together will be Ajax. I need to farm up for more materials, etc. But Ajax and obviously Freyna, Ultimate Freyna was announced today as I'm putting this video together. So we'll definitely be working on that as well when it comes out for Season 1. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Please If the content helped you in any way and you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Leave me a comment below, even if it's just say hi, it helps me. And if the video did help you in any way and you discover something new with Bundy or a new build you like to put together, hit the subscribe button for future content. Take care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.